This is so tiresome. This is so tiresome.
What a cozy little Vic3 stream.
What a little cozy Victoria 3 stream. I am now, once again, sitting alone in my voice channel, speaking to myself, activating the push to talk, so that my name on my profile picture sort of has a nice little circle around it on the stream, because that's directly broadcasting out of a Discord channel, which is the only way I know how to really do that, to make my name sort of go up when I'm talking. Hello everyone, welcome. We're having another chat about Victoria 3. There's very much leak-related stuff to discuss, leaking news, leakage, information. Yeah, happy Easter everyone. If you celebrate that, hope you had a good time. Hello everyone. And Clarion, thank you very much for your 10 months.
Tiresome. This is so tiresome.
Love the content Ispo. Keep it up.
Thank you, Tucky Sip, for the 5 months. Hi everyone. These streams always get a lot of discussion going, a lot of chatter. My Vic2 streams take a little bit of time to get going in the chat, but as soon as I mention Victoria 3, everyone's in. Everyone wants in on this. And I'm looking forward to getting to the bottom of this. What is happening with the leak? What is going on? What are Paradox saying about it? Because Paradox has released a statement, finally. A week or two after the thing started. I was wondering if they would say anything, and now they have. And we'll discuss that very much on this stream. I've got this statement, on my screen now, although I can't show it because it's really annoying to do the desktop capture and everything. So, I mean, half of you have read it. I'll read out the bits we're going to talk about, or we'll just discuss it in general. Right, so where do we start, guys? I suppose we better start talking about something actually relevant. I'll answer questions you have. Probably can't answer every question I see in the chat. I'll definitely answer everything that's on a resub message or a donation, obviously. So, right, let's just start with the big news that's happening, Paradox, Wizington. Who is Wizington, by the way? I mean, Wizington, what role is he? Crashed on my bike today, but your video streams always cheer you up. Damn. Well, that happens, unfortunately. Hope you feel better soon. Have you played the leak? No, I haven't. That's one question. I've not played it, I've not downloaded it, and I've not distributed it. Do you think they'll make a... Oh, we got... What's this? SpongeBob music? I didn't expect this. This is nice. Do you think they'll make a War DLC? Yeah, absolutely. They've already, in the dev diary about War, I keep reminding everyone, they've already hinted or implied potential DLC material in the dev diary already. That statement has been published. I'll link it in the chat. That's Martin Anward. Wizington, is it? Wiz is Martin, okay. Okay, so he's released a statement on the Paradox forums, and they tweeted it out and everything. I first saw it on Twitter, I think, and I retweeted it just for information purposes. So it goes a little something like this. As the saying goes, we're not mad, just disappointed. First of all, no, don't take this as serious discussion or anything, but is that really a saying? Is that? Oh no, we don't want you playing an unfinished game. Oh no, proceeds to DMCA all the modded fixes. Well, yeah, I guess another thing that happened today, or within the last few days or whatever, is that they have DMCA claimed a Mediafire link that was the hotfix or community patch for the leaked version, so they took that down. Can I get a link to the statement? Scroll up. Zabiu YT, by the way, that is a classic character in the Muscovy prologue. Absolute legend, man. You're a legend, you know that? But where were we? Yeah, you can post the link more. Get everyone reading this. So they took down the community patch. Now, I mean, People are saying it's silly. Why take down the thing that fixes or helps fix your game? But they can't take down the leak itself. The leak itself is like, being torrented. Loads of people have it. People are sharing it privately. They can't get rid of that. But they can do something. They're going to do whatever they can to get rid of it. But I don't know. It's like, it's impossible. It's like, holding sand and trying to, clench your fist with sand in it, and the sand just leaks everywhere. They can't do anything about it. I even streamed the game on Twitch and got DMCA'd. Well, obviously. I wish I was there to watch your stream, though. Of course they're going to DMCA. I actually saw someone else stream. I saw some Russian streaming Victoria 3. He was playing... was he playing China? I think he was playing China. Why is everyone playing China? I saw a Let's Play of China as well. Oh, I think he was playing Russia, actually. He was playing Russia, but he went to war with China. Yeah, that's what happened. Okay, so the statement. I think this statement right here, from the devs, from Martin himself, it sounds really defensive, and it's got a weird tone, obviously seems... He says he's not angry, he's not mad, just disappointed. It's got a bit of a mad tone to it. Of course they're not happy, understandably. And where do we start with it? He starts off by giving a rundown of what happened. Who's Jester? That's a classic player from the chill server. Modders are up to a third iteration of the community patch. Fix the crashing bugs. Game runs much smoother and faster now. Yeah, there's so much going on with the leak. By the way, I was planning to make a video last weekend about the latest with the leak, what was happening, and then my opinions of the game, but I never really went anywhere with it. It's so time consuming to make a talking video when you don't actually just have simple footage, and I have to put in like pictures of everything I'm talking about. I just don't have time to do that when I have to do the Venice series as well. But it wasn't that great anyway. It wasn't really going to be that good. So, what he says here is, we understand you're excited about the game. We are too, and we're anxious to share it with you properly. But there's a reason why we haven't yet launched Victoria 3 in open beta, early access or similar. Yes, the game is technically in a playable state, but its current lack of balance and level of polish obscures many aspects of the mechanics and how they interrelate. So, a lot of the statement is, saying how unfinished the version is and why it's bad to be giving feedback on that and why they don't want that to be leaked. And one of the most striking things in the post is how he says all feedback, positive and negative, is what I'll get you the exact quote instead of trying to paraphrase. Fact is, no matter how in-depth or insightful, none of them, and he's referring to negative and positive feedback, none of them identify anything that's new or surprising to us. So he has just cast down all feedback of the leaked version, all of it, all feedback, positive and negative, dismissed all the feedback. I think that's a bit harsh and a bit, and he says, all the problems, all the feedback they already know about, and it's invalid. What do you think of that, everyone? What do you think of that? I think it's quite a bold thing to say. I think it's maybe going a bit too far. Because there's been both positive and negative feedback of this. There's been plenty of people that I've seen who have said the leaked version is good, and they've enjoyed playing it. Loads of people are just straight up having a great time playing the game, as it is. There's a lot of negative feedback. And there's a lot of feedback that's obviously stuff that's going to be finished, such as bugs, bad AI, factually untrue statement. Which one? I am the feedback. Very interesting. Now, something I want to say about this, their take on the feedback and all the people giving feedback is this. I guess they've actually, in the post he states what version it is and how or where it was leaked from. The version that was leaked was it was for beta testers, for testers. Last week, what was it? Last week, Vic3 dev team was alerted to streams of an in-development build of the game shared with a small group of testers. Shared with a small group of testers. So, the version that we're all playing in the leak, by we, I don't mean myself, I mean the version that you're all playing in the leak, is a beta test, or it's a test version that was intended to go out to a group of testers. So the version that is being played was intended to be played, tested, and given feedback on. The version that they have was intended to have feedback from a select group of testers. The leaker was a tester, yes. Thank you, the God Waffle. Glad to see you too. Uberthink, thank you so much for the 3 months, by the way. And Tucky Sip, I already got you actually. Thank you guys anyway. Now, obviously, that testing, the version being tested. Wow, that's a big wall of text I'm seeing. I'll respond to that. JK, I love you. Okay, great. God Waffle, great. I'm disappointed actually. You should have just doubled down on that. This test version was developed with the most recent changes in February. Also, it is on the dev branch of the Paradox Git server. Okay. Him starting that the feedback of pirates isn't appreciated makes sense when they have dedicated and trusted testers. Well, they had dedicated and trusted testers. I don't think they trust their testers anymore. So what I was getting to is, this version is a version that was intended to have feedback given on it. But obviously, that feedback was a very controlled environment. They had probably had specific things that they told the testers to look for, and specific criteria to give feedback on in the tests, right? Within whatever small group of testing they were doing. I think what they should do, if this is possible, I don't know about game development or testing. Thank you, thanks for the 100 bits. If it's possible, they should release the documentation, the criteria of the feedback that testing was, the testers of that version were given, so that people have a sense of where the game is at that stage, and what the testers should have been looking for, and what might be valid feedback and what might be invalid feedback. Because let us know what feedback they were looking for in that version. Do you know what I mean, chat? Do you think that makes sense? They haven't, said anything specifically about where the version is in development. Sure, a beta version is usually to test a specific component of the game. Sure, I don't know the case. It could be the case that version was made to test, I don't know, the economy. Testing some specific things of the economy. Or it might have been just a general test for loads of different things. Or it might have been a test for a few different systems. We don't know. But I think it would be very helpful with the leak situation if we did know. And I think that might be helpful for Paradox fans, and everyone involved in the leak thing and everything. But what they have done is just, my voice is already giving way in this discussion stream, they've just gotten rid of all the feedback, it's all bad, it all doesn't matter, it's all invalid. Oh yeah, I forgot to link my Twitch and the YouTube pinned comment, thank you, I'll go and add that now, hold on a sec. Why would they tell you? I just told you. Okay, the pinned comments there. What's everyone seething and coping about my comments? Paradox is under a lot of pressure, bad press releases, yeah. Do you know that? Do you know if you can still get DMCA'd even if the thing that you're doing is not illegal where you live? I don't know. I mean, actually, I think even in your sentence, DMCA is an American law, right? And it's all, you know, YouTube. I think it's about the platform. If it's an American company such as YouTube, you have to follow their terms and conditions and laws. The leaker's name, Nurse Reno. Another thing I want to say is that all of this situation rests on the shoulders of the leaker, the person that leaked the game. I don't think the people that played it, or the people that have maybe the people shared it and got it out there, have a bit of fault too. It's on the leaker's shoulders. It's their fault, and Paradox should, you know. I think when he says he's disappointed with the person that leaked it. And I don't think, since a great deal of all the people taking part in this leak are all, at the end of the day, Paradox fans, they shouldn't really, shit on them.
This is all tiresome.
For just being eager to play the game and seeing a leak where they can play the game. A lot of people have done that in anticipation of the game being released. It's understandable. Evening. Meme Mast, thank you very much for the Prime. Get your Primes in, everyone. It's probably a beta testing copy that got leaked. Yeah, it is. I think that's been said in the statement by Paradox that it is, and that's what everyone else is saying. They need testers to tell them if the game is broken. Yeah, that's my point. People playing this leaked version are... I've already said it, you know. The beta testers were there to tell them if the game was broken. And so the people playing this beta test version have also told them the game is broken. What's the difference? And I think there's another angle to how the leak is very widespread and people have been very eager to play it because there's been so little actual information about the game. There's no gameplay, no gameplay released whatsoever for a game that is supposed to be releasing this year. I think it's the company's responsibility to not leak, to the players not to play the leak. Yeah, absolutely. There's an issue. The fact that there is a leak is an issue for Paradox. The people that they trusted to test the game, the documents, the NDAs that they signed with these people, something's gone wrong in their system for this to happen. And I'm sure they'll be changing things internally. And that's another... Actually, this is possibly the worst part of the statement related to this. Let me just quote it to you. Paradox, and this is me quoting directly, Paradox has always maintained a quite open development process, and in the Victoria dev team we intend to double down on that responsiveness to community input because we think that's what's best for the game. But for that communication and trust to work, you have to also trust that if we're not showing you something yet, it's because it really isn't ready to be shown. So he's kind of threatening to get rid of the level of openness they have due to the leak situation. And I think that's really not the best way to put it. If you all they had to do was simply say this is an unfinished version of the game. Keep that in mind, you know. Makes sense? I don't know. This version being leaked, well, in a very indirect way, it's a threat of them getting rid of their level of openness if things, you know, people keep shitting on an unfinished game. Sort of thing, you know, giving the negative feedback. Oh yeah, that's the actual quote. Wait, that's earlier in the statement? Yeah. If the bit I was meant to be the bit I meant to be talking about was if what you want is less interaction between developers and community and a more closely guarded development for future Paradox projects, then leaks like this are the single best way. Yeah, that's what I meant, guys. That statement, that sentence that Out of Syncer posted. It's very weird to go to make a big post to, the whole community targeted at the leaker. Just tell this stuff to the leaker. They probably know who it is, right? And then we have to discuss how unfinished actually is the leak. This isn't a game that is just in a fucking planning phase. This isn't a game that they're just drawing storyboards for and drawing diagrams of what is going to be in the game. This is a game, you can play it. People are getting a relatively full experience of a game in this leak. People are saying it's in a playable state that they can get a good game out of. It's very much getting along there in development, is it not? I mean, how unfinished really is it? That's my question. And I think Paradox, I hope they're not leaning towards just saying it's unfinished as an excuse for things that are going to be shit anyway. This entire leak, however bad it is, also feels like karma after Paradox fired its entire QA in late 2020. Yeah, Clarion, I heard something about that. I don't know. I don't know the situation. Yes, the game is technically in a playable state, but its current lack of balance and level of polish obscures many aspects of the mechanics and how they interrelate. Yeah, that implies that it's still very far along in being finished. A lot of you probably have experience and knowledge of developing games. Maybe more of you will know about that than I do. The Titanic is leaking, that's it. We are not going to communicate with you anymore. If you want this ship to have an open level of communication with its passengers about potential leaks and sinking, you're going to have to not do this anymore. Not go around spreading the fact the Titanic is leaking. It's in a very unpolished state. Yeah, the word polished. Polish is what you do on an already working product. Polish is the stuff you add on top, the icing on the cake. A bit of wood is already... You can already use a bit of wood in a house, even if it's not polished. They fired the entire quality... What's QA? What does QA even stand for? Quality assessment, quality analysis. Pretty suddenly after the department was complaining about their treatment and pay. Oh right, Jesus Christ. Yeah, this is pretty bad actually. I think I saw an article about that. The QA team complains of bad treatment and pay, quality assurance, and they all get fired. And then they use unpaid beta testers to test the game doing the job of QA, and then one of them leaks the game. Is this all going back to that decision, and is the leak their own fault in a way for trusting what should be the work of a QA team to beta testers? This is stuff that, who knows? I'm not making conclusions either way on that. I don't know that much about the situation. Paradox have their own side to that story as well, of course. Keep that in mind. If it is the case, then it is in a way deserved, yeah. QA is now unpaid at Paradox. This is a company that can afford to pay these people, right? I mean, damn. No matter how good the frame of a car is, it won't drive if it isn't finished. But Embo man, they're talking about polish. You can drive a car that's dirty, and you can drive a car that's not polished. And people who are playing the leak know that. People who are playing the leak, not everyone playing the leak is an idiot who thinks, oh my god, this game is unpolished, this bug with the AI means the game is terrible, they shouldn't buy it. Everyone knows they're playing an unfinished version. Unfinished, unpolished, whatever. People playing the leak, when they see a bug happen, they know that this is probably going to be fixed when the game actually comes out. Victoria 3 is definitely worse than just unpolished. Maybe. Maybe. As for the game itself, my biggest problem with it is obviously still the war system. Now, the war system, I disagreed with it, and I knew it was going to be how it is and bad from the moment they released the first dev diary about it, and I haven't changed my opinion very much since. So the fact that the war system is the war system that we knew it was going to be, and just because it's doing exactly what the developer said it was going to do, you know, we knew it was going to be bad from the start. So people are saying, you know, you can't criticize this, they're just, everything that is in the game is exactly what they said they do in the dev diary. What are you complaining about? Well, I complained about it in the dev diary. Go back and watch my stream of the first 2 war dev diaries. I've disagreed with it then, and I disagree with it now, and I still believe that that's going to hurt the game, at least for many people. Rumours of multiple front lines? Well, fucking rumours. In the dev diaries and in the dev responses it said it was going to be one front line. So if they do have multiple front lines, they will be doing more than what was in the dev diary and adding more. I would welcome that, I guess. I mean, adding multiple front lines, I don't know. It's not going to fix the root of the problem, which is the entire shit system of war. It's going to make it a little bit better within its own logic. They automated war and made you have to micro trade. Yeah. I've heard a lot of feedback. A lot of the feedback about the trade system, about how you have to micromanage every single trade route, and you have to constantly balance and manage the amount of goods you're taking in and trading away to feed your pops and feed your factories and all that. And that kind of sounded, a lot of people have said, and I don't know, I haven't played it, but a lot of people have said it's tedious. So I'm just going by what they're saying. People who have played this leak, and you know, the leak in whatever state it is, what can they do to? If you've played the leak and you see the trade system is tedious, what do you think they can do to make it not tedious? They came at the game from such a shit angle. I don't think mods would be able to fix the mess. Well, in terms of war, yes. And by the way, on this stream, I'll be looking to get maybe some special guests in. I'd love to get maybe Zombie in here, as always. You know, I think One Proud Psyop, also known as Pogba, has a lot of good things to say. I'd like to get him in here. He's actually in the voice channel on Discord, so we can get Pogba in here. Famous footballer for Manchester United, Paul Pogba, is waiting for us in the waiting room right now. Maybe we'll get him later. And yeah, keep the discussion going, give your opinions. What have you all got to say? And don't forget to support the channel with donations and subs. Now, one of the main things I was going to say in that video I was working on over the weekend that I never finished, and I will not release and not finish because the situation has already advanced well past what I was talking about there, was the lack of in-game text chat in multiplayer. That is an elephant in the room for me. Loads of you single player people won't give a crap, but not having in-game text chat is absolutely terrible. And before you say, oh, it's not finished, maybe they'll add in-game text chat. Let's look at 2 games released within the last few years that did not have, or should I say, do not have, in-game text chat either. That is Crusader Kings 3 and Imperator Rome. Neither of them have multiplayer text chat. So why should I think that fucking Victoria 3 is going to add it when the last 2 games they released haven't got it? There's another thing when comparing what's finished and unfinished in this fucking leak is look at their track record in previous releases. What have they been known to not finish when they release the game? That sort of thing. Oh, Lexo, as a former QA employee, oh, interesting. Someone who knows what they're talking about. It's never enough to have just in-house QA. If people in your target audience are volunteering to QA, then why wouldn't you let them help? Sure, yeah. I agree. I don't have any reason to disagree with that. Absolutely. Makes sense. The thing about, I don't know if this is bullshit or not, I might be just making stuff up, but the thing is, testing your own game, even if you are a dedicated testing team, you go into it with certain biases. You're going to go in and test a game for the people who are paying your income.
Some men just want to
So
be
you
out
might
of
have a
sync.
bit of a bias there. Who
Will
knows?
e o chat fro de Vic2 War Planner Feature.
Thank you, Bowel Shaking Earthquake for $5. We will chat through the Vic2 War Planner feature. Oh, no, well, they're not adding that. They don't have the battle plan feature either. You're totally right. You need someone else to look at it. Yeah, people within a company. Now, Martin, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna do something here called a saying that's actually a saying. You can't see the forest for the trees if you're working in the company. You're too ingrained. You need people who are actually outside the box so they can think outside the box. Yes, very wise. Very wise quotes I'm pulling out here. Will Nurse Reno be joining us? Unlikely. He's gone. He'll be back in November for a game. I can't wait for the Reno game in November. Get that in your diaries, everyone. I'm going to be streaming a Reno campaign in November. Oof, can't wait. 100% glad you agree. Because I don't have any experience within games companies or anything, so I could be just talking crap. Is Frank dead? No, he's not dead. He just doesn't want to play Victoria 2 anymore. And who can blame him? Terrible game.
Good grief.
You've gotta give the $1 billion Malmo indie pop game developer some slack. They only made like 24 million euros in 2021.
Thank you, Flyerton, for the 100 bits. Yeah, I mean, yeah, when I see so many Redditors
This is so tiresome. This is so tiresome.
and Vic3 chat,
From
Vic3
what
Discord
you
people,
have seen with Vic3, what is your biggest concern?
I'll answer that in a minute. Hexic Drone, thank you for the 6 months, and thank you, Flyerton, again. I guess it's okay for all these Redditors and everything to defend Paradox and talk positively, that's fine. But when they shit on me so much, they have to remember, I'm just some random fuck making a wee bit of money on YouTube and Twitch and stuff, and they're defending a multi-million-dollar company, you know, and shitting all over me and saying I'm the worst thing since Hitler. I mean, come on. Anyway, actual important stuff. What were we saying? Oh yes. Speaking of how much money Paradox makes, I just want to let you all know. Did you know? Tell me in the chat if you knew this or not. Tencent owns 9.12% of Paradox. Did you know that? Tell me in the chat if you knew that or not right now. Tencent owns almost 10% of Paradox. Actually, that's relatively close to the name. Tencent, 10%. Is that what they do? Do they go around owning 10% of companies? No, you did not know that.
This is so tiresome.
Oh
This
my
is so
god, what?
tiresome.
In all caps? No question mark?
Can't
No.
you wait to see the green red bar go back and forth until one
Yes,
side
says
wins
Flyerton.
all?
I read the financial statements. Yes, you know what you're talking about. You already gave us their financial numbers. I remember being concerned when they bought that 10%. When was it, Clarion? Do you know? When they did it? It would be really funny if that correlated or coincided with when that game started being shit, like Imperator. Well, there you go. Yeah, it's on the Wikipedia page. Go on Paradox's Wikipedia page and you can see it right there. Tencent owns 9.12%. But I don't know anything about that shit. I don't know. I just hear bad things about them. I don't really know or care. I don't know. But just remember, back in 2015-16, interesting. May 27th, 2016, interesting. I just like what do they do? What does Tencent do? What does their 9.12% of Paradox do? How much influence does it have? And what would they be doing? Tencent business model. Army of software devs with big budgets making profitable projects, and all extra money they can't put into software dev goes into market investments like buying 10%. Okay. I mean, maybe they're just trying to make money. What they did to Imperator still pisses me off to this day. 2016 was a big year for Paradox. Huge year. They released Stellaris and Hoi 4 within a few months of each other in 2016. I have fond memories, actually, to be honest. Playing a wee bit of Hoi 4 single player, having a wee bit of fun, doing the same with Stellaris. But anyway, Someone should tell those guys Paradox is a bad investment, yeah. But I mean, getting in at 2016, actually, that was when they just started to get really, they did really well. Like I said, 2016, Hoi 4. Remember Hoi 4 on launch? Maybe it was shit on launch, but it's certainly, Hoi 4 has been consistently growing since it was released. If you look at a graph of Hoi 4, it's just a line going up since it released up until the present day. So they've done something right with that game, I guess. Paradox stocks are down almost 10% since the leak was announced, with a new low being hit today. You guys wish you were Tencent. They were allocated the shares at 33 Swedish kroners. Well, what are the shares now? Currently 176 kroners. Oh my god. Someone do the math. Do the math, Flaherton. You're a numbers guy. Crunch those numbers. How much money did Tencent make out of Paradox? Even though Paradox has gone down a lot over the past couple of years, and especially with the leak now, compared to 2016, it's up a lot. Zangmer, thank you for the 5 months, and let's go back to Hexic. From what you've seen with Vic3, what's your biggest concern? Well, to answer, basically and simply, it'll be the war system, obviously. The war system is just going to hold a lot of people back, holding me back. Because I don't know, I'm very open-minded about their trade, the economy, and the politics, and the technology, and loads of other systems, but the war system is, everyone knows what I think about that. Paradox stock didn't go down because of the leak, it went down with the rest of the market. Yeah, maybe. So, what was I going to say? I think Vic3 will be fun in the first few months. You play each major, there won't be much replayability. The war seemed just too simplistic. Yeah, absolutely. From what the feedback and everything, what I'm hearing about Victoria 3, if I can aggregate all the feedback I've read and what it might mean, I am worried, or I'm concerned that Victoria 3 might just be really mediocre. Not great,
Some men just
not
want to
terrible.
be out of sync.
Absolutely love your content and hope Vic3 opens new doors for you, Mate. Cheers.
Thank you so much, Jack and News, for the $10 and the kind words. Thank you. So, what if Victoria 3 is just sort of, alright. A wee bit of replayability in single player, multiplayer, nothing to speak of because they don't even have in-game chat. Kind of crap. And, because that seems pretty typical of Paradox to me. Because they're going to improve it over time with the DLC. Then it'll be a really good game after 3 years. It's really depressing, actually, to think about it that way. How it's just going to be kind of mediocre on launch. And then with DLC, they'll add things here and there. Yeah, that hits harder than any of the other criticism I've seen of Victoria 3. I've been quite doomer about Victoria 3, but when I think of it like that, ugh. Yeah. CK3 is kind of average to me. It kind of matches what they've been doing. Imperator was worse than average, but they improved that a lot, and it got better. CK3 though, kind of average. Then they're adding content with DLC. Very expensive DLC, I might add. Hoi 4, definitely probably average when you look back on it when it came out. Yeah, it was alright. And then they improved it with DLC, added loads of new features. Tencent bought more shares of Paradox at a later date that I don't remember. Okay. They have an unrealized gain of 145 million USD on their investment. Wow, there's some savvy investors. They know what they're doing. Yeah, F107, yeah, you're right. The thing about the Victoria 3 war system is, if only, I wonder if I'm going to ever... What are my stocks at right now? Spud gun stocks. For 10 cent, that's not much. Yeah, probably. So, with the Victoria 3 war system, if we can ramble on about this a bit more. Obviously, the direction they're going... Okay, that's a big wall of text. There's two things about the war system, right? There's the direction they're going down, and there's how they've actually implemented it. I disagree with them both. I think they're both badly done, right? But let's say a lot of people, around the time of the War Dev Diary, a lot of people agreed with the direction, and they said, I actually hate the Vic2 micro. I think they should make it more frontlinesy. So you can agree with the direction, but I think you have to admit that they have done the direction badly anyway. So even within the logic of a frontline system replacing micro, it's been done badly, right? So I think a lot of people, and I've seen this feedback, I've seen a lot of people say this anecdotally. There's no way to get anything other than anecdotal evidence about this, mind you. You can't poll everyone. I think they're failing to implement the war system even on their own criteria. It's just... They could have... Because obviously, there's a lot of ways they could do it. There's a lot of ways they could do a front system well with a decent amount of interactivity where you can leave it to sit. And basically, it's just Hoi 4, damn it. It's just fucking Hoi 4, okay? Just do Hoi 4. Have it so that the player can micro it or leave the front lines to do their thing if they want to go and micromanage trade instead. Cheeky poll time? No, not on the stream. My viewers have a clear viewpoint that would agree with me quite significantly, so it's not really balanced. So it would be interesting to get a viewpoint of all the different Paradox demographics. How do you feel about the war as a continuation of diplomacy? That part, sure, it's fine. War as a continuation of diplomacy? Spud, it's an important holiday. I hope it's important. What do you mean? Stephen Ma, head of games publishing at Tencent, was literally a fan of Hoi 2. Oh, that's nice. Good taste, I suppose. Oh, 420? You mean 2004? Another reason is people might have circlejack emphasised on Vicky's uniqueness, meaning Paradox may have overplayed why people want 3, making it in turn more the way it is turning out, and why people... I don't know what you mean, sorry. I think that war as a continuation of diplomacy is cool, but not being able to declare war is dumb. Yeah. I mean, I haven't played the leak. I don't know exactly at what point a diplomatic play becomes a war. It's sort of like a... It's just a crisis system, really. It's also a famous person's birthday. You be quiet. Can't even add war goals during a war. Yeah. Yeah. I guess the other big problem I had is the diplomatic play thing, but I disagree with the war thing in general. I disagree with the diplomatic play thing more from a pure multiplayer perspective. The diplomatic play thing might indeed work better for the AI and interacting with AI, but I think it's worse for interacting with players. So, one thing I was going to say in the video I was working on was how, to be very fair, the footage that I showed in the leak video before it was taken down was really bad. The footage was low quality and it wasn't showing the game in its proper light, in a 1080p with the resolution scaled properly. And when you look at that, If you look at more leaked gameplay, which you can easily find, I'm not going to post links or anything. If you want to find Victoria 3 gameplay, you can easily find it. It obviously looks better than what I showed. It looks good. The zoomed out political map mode looks nice and bright, okay? That whole thing I said about the brightness, it looks bright, okay? Don't worry. It was, I wished I got better footage. I wish the footage I did manage to show in that little window of 32,000 views that I got to show Victoria 3 leak footage, I wish I showed better footage in that. But I did what I had at the time. I got what I got at the time. And that's, you know, that is what it is. People are smart enough to know. I made plenty of disclaimers in the video. Carry on. War as a continuation of diplomacy is actually implemented really well. Only issues is the core way wars are fought and not being able to add war goals. Yeah. Yeah, probably Mugbug, I would agree, yeah, sure. You have a good point, Lucky Cannon. Doubling down on the economy makes it less accessible. I think we've been sort of people are misleading about the appeal of Victoria 2 and why it's not played by that many people, but it has a cult following and it is loved, generally loved in the Paradox community. It's not just the economy and the politics and stuff. People do like to paint the map. This is something that's been thrown under the bus and pushed under the rug or whatever. There's a saying. At the end of the day, people actually do like to paint the map and do big wars, big fuck off wars. Single player, multiplayer, whatever. Painting the map is Redditors paint the map all the time and they post their maps on Reddit. Post their big painted maps. It's such a huge feature of Paradox games in general and Victoria 2. Going after that and damaging that in the game
just want to be out of sync.
Is dangerous.
Mate love ispo, love decantente.
Thank you so much, Shockadin, for the $3. Thank you. Hello everyone, so when is Vicky 4? Never. I think what a better way to approach it would have been, instead of getting rid of playing long and getting rid or harming annexing other land and expanding and painting a map, is instead of getting rid of that, just create the alternative. Allow you to play tall as another option. They've done that, I think, in EU4 quite well. They've allowed a lot of opportunities to play tall in EU4, which I don't think were added at the start. So I think they've improved that as the game went on with DLC. They shouldn't do it to the detriment of just plain old map painting. Give people the option to play tall or long. I haven't really heard the soundtrack. It sounds okay. I've had a couple of bits from the footage I watched. Sure, the soundtrack seems okay. Gotta have some contemporary sounding stuff. There was a thread on VST about... Is that Victoria? What is VST? About Vicky 3's economy system that was pretty damning. Tariffs basically have no downside and they're low. Yes, actually, that is true. Playing long, is that the right word? As the opposite of playing tall, or is it playing wide? Fuck, I don't know. Yeah, I've seen a lot of concerning feedback regarding wide. Okay, video game strategy board on 4chan, is it? Yeah, cool. Wide. Okay, sure. Wide. Long would be if you're playing Chile. I remember Imperator players being annoyed with the map paint wars of that game. I remember seeing the battles. Yeah, I read that goods are abstracted, and Zombie said this on my previous stream as well. Playing large. It's bigger than that. It's large. I heard Zombie talked about this. So Zombie, forget your 4chan post, but forget your VST post. Zombie was the first person to talk about this, okay? Zombie Freak. In fact, let's get him in. Zombie.
Hello?
Weren't you talking about how goods were abstracted and how that's a problem?
Oh, I can go on a long rant about that. Even if it's going on long.
Well, can we put you up to 1.5 times speed?
Okay, alright. Well, what do I even
For
start?
everyone watching this on the YouTube, on the Spudgun Archives as a VOD, please turn to 1.5 speed for the duration of this rant. Okay, go on.
Okay, so you know how there are sell orders and buy orders, right? I mean, now the leak is out. People have played it, they probably know what those are, right? It's basically like the supply and demand from the trade scheme from Vic3. Anyway, basically, I'm just going to use an example. Let's imagine you have a steel factory, right? It requires 10 coal, 10 iron, and produces 10 steel. Now, let's say this building only has access to 2 coal, right? Or 3 coal. Let's just say 3 coal and 3 iron. It only has access to a third of what it actually needs, right? Well, what's going to happen is it's still going to buy 10 coal from, 7 of this coal is going to come from nowhere. It's still going to buy the 10 iron. 7 of this iron will then also come from nowhere. And it will still produce 10 steel. Completely normal, full efficiency. The only thing that would change is that the price, like the actual price of these goods that you were buying that don't exist, would then raise on the local market level. So that's basically how it works. So like imagine if you actually had 10 iron and 10 coal, you would be paying the price of, let's say, £30, right? If you can only get 3 iron and 3 coal, you might be paying the price of 50 pounds, right? So it's more expensive, but the goods you're buying don't actually exist. That's basically the crux of the issue. And if in the current build, this might change, by the way. It's just how the files are in the current build. But in the current build, if the building only gets less than 25% of what it actually needs, so let's say you get like 2 coal and 2 irons out of 10. If it gets less than 25% of what it needs, then you get a shortage modifier, which then reduces the output of that building. So like you would only be producing like maybe 5 steel instead of 10 steel, right, or whatever, something like that. And but keep in mind, the building is still buying the same amount of coal and iron that don't exist. It's still outputting less, right? And the reason there's a problem is a lot of issues. I mean, first of all, who plays Victoria to have like a Hoi 4 or Stellaris-esque economy? It's like, some of the best parts of Victoria 2 is you actually, like, a unit of steel is a unit of steel. Like, you need steel to do all these things. If you don't have it, too bad. Right, the price might increase, but you're not going to be able to buy more than exists in the world, or that you can get access to. And it's just really shitty with how it works in Vic3, because it doesn't give a shit about how many goods you actually have available. It's just going to raise the price of those goods, but those goods don't actually exist. So it's like it's hyper abstracted, right? It's super abstracted, and this is why they don't allow stockpiles, because you can't really allow stockpiles when goods don't really exist now, can you? Right? That's why stockpiles aren't a thing in Victoria 3, because they wouldn't make any sense to have them with this system. That's the short version. There's a lot of other reasons also.
They fucking took our goods.
They took our goods. Yeah,
they took our goods. Hashtag they took our goods.
Yeah, just imagine it's like EU4 money, okay? You can buy anything with it, and there's really no limit on how much you can buy as long as you have the money. That's really what it is. Like, you might get a modifier on your building if you can't get a certain threshold of it, but at the end of the day, you can still buy the goods. It's just a debuff, That's really what it is. And it's really unfortunate.
Now,
truly.
So. I know that there are Victoria 3 devs listening to this and saying all the feedback of the leak is invalid because it's not finished. Is this something that could be changed? Or is it too late? Well, would you be able to know that?
I unfortunately think this part specifically I'm complaining about is so fundamental they will not be able to change it. It's so fundamental to the game's design that they won't. And this is why when I read the Paradox response to the leaks, I thought they're kind of right. I mean, if you criticize something like, let's say, if you criticize the AI in the leak build, or you criticize the trading in the leak build, and like basically a ton of stuff above the iceberg, like not fundamental stuff, like he's right that it won't really help them because they probably already know that's an issue, right? Like for example, naval invasions don't work. They probably already know that, right? But stuff like this that are so fundamental to like for the game to work, like this system I just described.
Yeah, because like what you're describing isn't something that isn't in the game yet, like naval invasions isn't working.
Yeah,
this is something that has a system that has been developed deliberately as it is.
Yes,
this is in the game. Why would they develop something with X method only to change it to Y method as if they're already planning to do so before feedback?
Exactly. That's why, unfortunately, I've said this in a lot of servers too. By the way, I've put this criticism everywhere because I think it's a big problem. But unfortunately, I think this core design tenet of the system, the system to describe why the goods don't actually matter, is so integral to the game's design now that changing it will mean a complete rewrite of almost everything. Because everything interact with the economy, right? A lot of stuff interact with the economy. So you need to rewrite a ton of stuff to change this to an actual tangible system. Which is why I think it won't happen, unfortunately. But
the thing is, though, as always, if they do fix this, and if they do take these concerns and fix it before the game comes out, then that's a good thing. We're not complaining.
That is good.
If they do fix it, if they take the
really
feedback.
do hope they do. They can also, what I think they're going to do, right, is they're going to lessen the negative impacts of the system. So you know how I mentioned how there's like a penalty that's applied and all that, and like all these values surrounding the system can be modified in a defines file, right? So what the devs can do is they can mod the circumstance of how this mechanic interact with other mechanics, right? So you can like make it so like the player won't see as much. They'll put it behind the curtain. They'll hide it a bit more. They'll make a bit more sense. So it won't be as often that goods are like just come out of nowhere. Right, they can remove the price limit. They can do a bunch of things to make it a bit less retarded. But even if they do that set dressing, which will help, I really don't think they'll be able to change this fundamental mechanic much. Because I mean, what is it now? Like I would assume it's probably gonna come out either this year or like next year in the quarter of next year, right, or something like that. It seems like the dev build itself is playable, and all the fundamental mechanics are set in stone. Not only the fundamental ones, like this one, for instance. Not everything, but this one would definitely be, in my opinion. I just don't see how they're going to completely revamp it, unfortunately. But I hope they do, because I don't think I'm going to like trade economy if this is how the game is, the entire economy is based on a system like this.
And since there's no fucking war, and they're going heavily into relying on economy to replace the screen time that war used to have, they have to get it right.
Yeah, and my theory as to why they use this system actually is someone explained this to me, that apparently, how in Victoria 2 you have a buy order, right? You have the world rank where you have a buy order. This one buys first, this one buys first. So in Victoria 3 they did away with that, right? So like it's proportionally split around the pops and all that stuff. If that's how it would be if the goods actually existed. But it like the shortest penalty is at least spread evenly around. Now someone explained to me that apparently using a tangible good system like Victoria 2, where goods actually exist, and spreading it proportionally with no buy order is actually some really performance intensive, supposedly. I can't verify this information, but I think this is partly why they did it, because number one, it's easier to code than coding an actual in-depth.
But oh my fucking god, Victoria 3 requires way more fucking system specs than Victoria 2. It's destroying people's computers, I've heard.
Yeah, I think what Paradox probably thought is, if we implement this system, it's going to be so performance intensive that people are going to need like super good CPU or something like that to run it. And I'm only half convinced by this argument, because as I said, Victoria 2 uses this system. It does have a buy order though, so it's not proportional, but it does have a buy order, but it does use a tangible good system, and it runs fine. It's an old game. Most computers can run it. Pretty much any computer can run it after like 2010 or something like that, right?
More or less, yeah.
I have a hard time thinking that's the reason why they're not doing this, but it could be. Maybe they just put all the resources into like the 3D models or whatever else the game has to render and process, rather than the economy itself. I can't say that. I mean, that's just a theory, right? Or it could just be to follow the design doctrine. If you look in Hoi 4 and Stellaris and all those kind of games, they've kind of worked with a similar design doctrine of, goods aren't tangible. It's just kind of a modifier and a variable check.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. And that's for EU4. That's fine, because that's what EU4 is. But Victoria, this is what Victoria is, and they've taken Victoria away from what Victoria is. Yeah,
that's also part of the reason I don't like it. Like, it doesn't feel very Victoria-esque. I know, most people haven't only played Victoria 2, of course, but I feel like Victoria 2 really set in stone what the series is about, if that makes sense. Like, Victoria 1 was, it was good, but it had a lot of problems, and there was a lot of open holes in the design, but Victoria 2 really cemented this. And now Victoria 3 seems to be doing away with it completely, more or less.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't like it, as well as a lot of other reasons. But another interesting point is, you talk about EU4, right? And EU4 has a very, very abstract system, of course, but if you even look at like Hoi 4 versus Hoi 3, which is an interesting comparison, if you look at Hoi 4, the way it handles resources and all that stuff is actually, like, if you look at that versus Hoi 3, it's actually pretty similar to how it will function from Vic 2 versus Vic 3. Like you have like in Hoi 3 you have tangible, well, quote unquote, not tangible goods, but you have like goods that you can say there's a certain number of these in the game, right? And you have this much in stockpile, and stockpiles are a thing, yada yada yada. Whereas Hoi 4, where aside from fuel, this isn't really a thing, right? So that's when it's a design doctrine, I think, that they'd rather want to avoid these systems where they have like actual tangible goods amount, and rather have it, this more abstracted, easier to approach system that is present in Hoi 4 and especially EU4 and Stellaris and so on. So that's kind of what I think about it.
So someone mentioned a funny example where, since the goods are abstracted, and even if you don't have the goods, you can still use them. Someone said you can have fully up-to-date infantry as Qing just with the research, without being able to produce the goods you need.
Yep, that is completely possible. Although remember, you would get the modifier, right? If you have less than 25% of, if the game checks that the buy orders are the sell orders are only 25% of the buy orders, so it checks the variables against each other. If it detects that, it will give you a modifier, which will decrease the efficiency. So let's say you get up-to-date artillery, right? Like the newest artillery requiring a shit ton of goods to buy and all that stuff. Let's say you get that. You would only probably work at 50% efficiency, because you wouldn't be able to actually. It would be able to buy the artillery. Remember, it still buys the artillery that doesn't exist, but it just detect that there shouldn't be enough artillery, even though it has enough artillery, and that way it would apply a modifier. Right? That's basically how it would work. I can't see how effective that would be, because I haven't looked at the combat stats yet. But maybe it could be effective. Like as long as you can reach that 25% check mark, you won't get any debuffs whatsoever. Right? So you can have just 25% of the artillery you actually need, and you'd be fine.
Yeah. Although it's just that I'm thinking of how exploitable and broken this is. Hence, they're going to fix it. They're going to do something about it, right?
I do suspect they will up the percentage where you get the shortest money. Like I do suspect that in the final release they might change the threshold where you get the penalty, like 25% threshold. They might up that to like 50% or 75%, something more realistic, right? But even if you do that, it's still like possible theoretically to just you still use stuff that uses more goods than you actually have without really getting any penalties. And even if you get a penalty, it's not like a penalty in Vic2 where you have an artillery factory and you can't get enough explosives, right? It just throttles the production, right? That's what it does. It doesn't throttle the production here, as you still buy the goods. It just provides a penalty to it of the output.
Yeah, right? That's... it's... I don't know if it's good or bad. Maybe it works in a certain way, but it's not Victoria 2. I mean, Victoria 2's system here is clearly... obviously more realistic, more real simulation.
It is.
It can't be realistic, it's a game, but it's more real. More real than Victoria 3's proposal.
Like I would say though, the markets in Victoria 3 do make a bit more sense than Victoria 2's buy order system, with the
if you don't have the goods, you can't fucking build the thing. If you don't have steel, you can't make an artillery piece.
Yeah. You can't make artillery without artillery pieces, But so that's why I think, if my personal wish, if you had Victoria 2 tangible goods that actually matter, and you combine that with the market system of Victoria 3, if you combine those two together, you probably would have a really good system, like, because you would have goods that actually matter, that the prices will change and that actually matters, and you have to secure the supply, because otherwise your shit will get throttled, while still, having the market system so that you can like get new markets and so on. Basically sphering, but better, essentially, right?
Yeah.
So basically,
just quickly, Lucas, thank you for the Prime Shockadin. I haven't read what you've suggested. Maybe it's interesting. What was I about to ask? Oh yeah, so Zombie, you've played the thing, right? In gameplay that I've seen, it looked to me like there was a lot of, for economy management, there was a lot of just spam clicking a certain building you need across multiple provinces. Like, build, okay, I need some grain farm, build, I need some fucking cow pastures, build, spam. Is that what the game is?
To some extent it is. Because remember, there are no capitalists, there are no autonomous actors within your economy that can build it on their own. So pretty much anything that gets built, even if it's by the investment pool, it is directly by you. It does offer some good macro tools, like you can auto-expand stuff, and you can target and auto-expand on buildings and stuff and make sure they automatically upgrade. But at the end of the day, you are the one building everything. So yes, there is quite a bit of economy and micromanagement if you want it to be optimal. probably even more so in the Vic 2 actually, because in Vic 2 you only deal with factories. Here you also deal with the RGO buildings and stuff.
Yeah.
And at least you don't have to worry about employment as much because the buildings will automatically lay off. You automatically hire and lay off depending on the profit margin. So you don't have to worry too much about that. But you do have to worry about are they all fully upgraded? Do we have to constantly build this shit? We have to do all this. Do I have to talk auto upgrade on these ones, but on these ones, yada yada yada. Do I have to subsidize these ones? But there's quite a bit of it. And I didn't actually like a lot of people complain about was the trade route system, and I didn't actually mess with that too much. But from what I can tell, it's all manual as well. There's no like automatic way of doing it or automation. So you have to manually set trade routes.
It's just I don't. A lot of people have said this. It might be a tired point now, but people complain about the war micro, so they got rid of the war micro, but they just moved micro somewhere else. They haven't gotten rid of micro.
It seems like they want to just focus on economy, really. Like the whole thing with the war was that I think people just want to not do war micro; they wanted to do economy micro instead, I guess, because that is what it's.
People don't understand. This might sound stupid, but when you're microing war, you're microing cool fucking people with guns shooting each other, and at the end of the day, that fucking sells. It's really it's dumb and everything, but it fucking sells.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the kind of sad because I think. I said this before, but I think having let's say trade centers or like the trade ports have their own autonomous like trade routes where they make trade routes based on what profits them and they make money that way would be so cool, right? Like they would automate like basically capitalism Vic 2 but smarter, and they actually trade stuff where it's needed. And then maybe if you have like a planned economy, you can then manually set trade routes and all that stuff. But that would be really cool. But it seems like they kind of went the imperator route of this manual trade. Like, only manual trade. I do think since there's a leaked dev build, they might implement some automation features before launch, automate, setting trade routes and stuff. But the fact there are no other autonomous actors within your country other than yourself has been a major drawback for many who expect this to be, a bit more, you can say realistic or just real.
That's a big topic. That's a topic we could really nail down in and talk about forever, but we probably move on to other stuff. Was I about to say anything in particular? No, let's bring in someone who has been outspoken about their statement today. This is famous. Your name comes up as one proud psyop, but you are famous French national footballer, currently playing for Manchester United.
Bonjour,
right?
c'est Paul Pogba. Bonjour.
Bonsoir, Paul Pogba. Bonsoir. It's the evening. They say bonsoir. You're not. I can tell you're an imposter.
I'm an imposter.
What are your thoughts? You've had lots of interesting thoughts about the paradox statement today. What do you think?
Well, as I've said, I think it's a very arrogant response and a very dismissive response of everything that's been addressed by the community. I think there's a lot of ways they could have went about this. They could have just said, "Oh, we understand you have criticisms, but this is a beta build, and a lot of things will change." But instead, they just said, "Yeah, everything you said is irrelevant," even though they made this whole build as a build to be tested and get feedback on, and we gave them feedback and they don't care, which is a bit ironic if you ask me.
Yeah, I can't help but agree with that. So,
Yes.
I agree. Everything we said is based and correct. We agree. End of stream. Done. Bye. No, we'll do a bit more. Yeah, so they've dismissed all feedback, he says he's dismissed feedback, but at the end of the day, if they're getting feedback that is good and stuff they didn't know, they'll actually probably act on it without saying, probably.
They'll quietly do the right thing, which would be good, although it would just kind of damage their relations with us, pretty much. If they actually did do the correct thing, which would just be weird. But yeah, it's also strange that they kind of also denied every criticism from a fundamentals point of view, like all of the fundamental criticisms to the game mechanics, not just bugs, not AI doesn't work. Actually, the game mechanics aren't good. They don't work properly. They don't replace the previous systems in a better way. They just completely denied that. And as I said, they kind of act like they're virtuosos that like are making this masterpiece that just we wouldn't get it. Like it's like they're like Mozart or something. It's like, oh, what is this? What is this composition? It sounds weird. It's like you wouldn't get it, but it's just not the case for this. It's it just isn't.
Yeah, I can see
guess
where he's
so.
coming from.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you could say I agree that most feedback wouldn't be useful because they probably moved on and fixed stuff. But as you know, Pogba said, fundamental criticisms to fundamental mechanics should absolutely be taken seriously because, well, it's like if a fundamental mechanic is broken to the point where you need to redo it to fix it, then I mean, it's kind of important,
To what extent? Here's my question: what is the extent to which this abstraction problem in the economy was talked about in the dev diaries and could have been known before the leak?
That's the thing is
Do
they
either
really
of
didn't
you
talk
know
about
that?
it. Like I remember when we actually discussed this dev diary where they explained the economy
Yeah.
and goods, and that's the thing, they didn't mention this at all. Like they had subtle hints, like they said there was no limited money supply and all that stuff. They had subtle hints about it, but they never actually straight up said goods don't exist. It's just abstraction, yada yada yada. Because it probably wouldn't sound very good when you say it like that, But like if they actually had said that though, I think a lot of people would have criticized them, like in the input dev diaries and so on. When you come out with a obviously questionable fundamental mechanic, and then people question it, but they really didn't explain that whatsoever in those DDs. So it's kind of a shame we have to find out about this in a leak.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've kind of been drip feeding
but-
information like at a starvation level. It's really
Yeah.
it's like even though this has been 41 dev diaries, they've been like super empty, and a lot of it's just been like filler, just like sentences that just don't talk about anything.
I remember the discussion about economies in the dev diaries, our early ones. They were good times, good fun. I remember we never really worked out if the economy would be abstracted, but I think I might remember us saying, if it is abstracted, that's bad, and if it's not, that'll be good. And it's turning out that it is abstracted, basically. Now that we know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've kind of not gone too in depth in like figuring out how the economy system works, just because it's like it's kind of just felt like, oh, just build like some building that's profitable and boom, you make money. It's kind of just been like that for me personally. But as I said, I didn't go in depth too much into the economy system and figuring out how everything works. Only issue I have is how little like market access you get from ports. Because let's say you're like Japan or whatever, you have to import a lot of stuff because you don't have that much like production, and like you don't have that much world access. So then you just can't you can't have certain production systems. You can't get tools at all, and it's really weird that like you only get to a certain port level, and then after that you're hard capped on how much you can import.
I did remember hearing that you can have infinite number of trade routes and everything as long as you have the capacity.
Yeah.
Naval capacity, which is good. There's no caps.
Yeah.
Trade caps. The cap is your own capacity for it in your country. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
That is fine. Yeah, like the trade route system itself is not bad. Really.
It's just the port cap, in my opinion, that's a little bit low right now. Like only getting one port level feels kind of bad if you don't directly control a bunch of stuff.
Belgium, big industrial and big trading nation with a
There's
big
also
colonial thing, but with one port.
In the leak, it's also the case where you need these naval convoys or to actually trade on land, which obviously
that's weird in my opinion.
I think that's going to be changed. That's just a placeholder most likely, because they did explain the dev diary that it's over land, so I'm not going to worry about that, because that's probably just
well, it probably should be oversea if you don't have like railroads and like connecting states or something.
Yeah, so I wouldn't worry about that. Like my main issues with it is just the fundamentals, and to be fair to them, they actually were quite surprisingly forthcoming in the war dev diaries with how war actually worked, because I think a lot of people thought it was negative, obviously, and I think it is negative, but they didn't really hide anything. Like if you try to use war in the current league build, it's pretty much exactly the same as they explained it would be in dev diary. Same with diplomatic plays and all that stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's not like the economy where there's a lot of up for interpretation in the dev diary, right? Like a lot of stuff with up for interpretation of how it actually worked. But in the war dev diaries and diplomatic plays, it's all pretty much laid out as exactly as it is. So yeah,
You guys
I
have
think-
talked about.
Go
I'm
ahead.
guessing you guys have talked about like war and stuff. I haven't had the stream on the whole time.
Well, we haven't talked about war in depth as to what's been seen in the league,
Yeah.
but since we already know what the war system is from how honest they were in the dev diaries, there isn't that much to talk about. It is what
Yeah.
we knew it was going
Well,
to be.
The only thing I have to say is that like I saw some guy posting on the forum. There was someone was reposting like posting a screenshot of someone saying that you could split fronts, but like this isn't a game mechanic at all, and I don't
It is
understand where
not.
this comes from.
Was
Who
it like
knows
an
what
exploit
ended for
or a
him?
sort of glitch
No,
you could do?
it's just not a thing. Maybe he's saying like, oh, you have to split the land in two, but like AI generals move at random. You don't control where your AI general directly goes. They just move on the front, and that's it.
That would be why I've seen gameplay of people playing as Russia launching an invasion on China and then going through the fucking desert.
Yeah,
Yeah, like I mean, you can only control the direction to the extent of the strategic region. If it's all just one strategic region, you can't really control the movements at all. You just one big, front. So if the front splits, it's something that happens automatically and not something you can control. They really have like very little control whatsoever to do anything. But anyway, I don't know.
Also, I don't know if we've mentioned strategic regions, but I feel like the way they've defined strategic regions are very strange. Like South Germany, like North Germany, like the Rhine Basin, like that whole Central European area feels like super badly defined. But I mean, of course,
Yeah,
they can
but
change that
to
really
be fair,
very easily.
Yeah.
they could add a lot of new stuff with the war stuff. I mean, maybe they
Yeah.
might just fix it up. They might even add, who knows, maybe a new button to press. Whoa. I mean,
Whoa,
and all that stuff. But I mean,
defend or
obviously,
attack or just wait? No way.
they're not going to change the fundamentals, and that's, I mean, also an issue because I don't like the fundamentals of the war system. Apparently, a lot of people do, but I'm not a big fan of it. They might set dress it and make the actual fundamental system a bit better over the DLCs and maybe even the release too. But yeah, I don't think the fundamental mechanic is good, but it is how it is. But they might set dress it and make it a bit better.
Oh, they're going to add. That's something they're going to do in DLC. I can predict
I would
that.
just expect so.
Yeah. Also, the lenses, how they defined lenses, like just the amount of buttons you need to press and the amount of like screens you need to go through to like find certain things is kind of like tedious compared to
Yes,
like
I've heard that too.
I don't
about-
actually think the lenses themselves are a problem. I think
it's not the lenses. It's just the amount of like of like menus compared to Vic 2. The amount of menus you need to go through to find stuff is like twice or 3 times as more.
It really doesn't provide.
And
you
there's a
with
lot
enough
of ways they
info.
could simplify things.
Like, if you look at the Vic2 UI, it immediately tells you how many brigades you have, how many you can mobilize, your infamy, and all this. But in order to figure all those things out from Victoria 3, you can't just look at the screen and it tells you. You have to go into a sub-menu, the diplomat sub-menu, look at your infamy. Then you go into the army sub-menu, look at your brigade count. It's all like segregated into sub-menus now. You can't just get it at a glance.
Oh my god, yeah, it's giving me EU4 thoughts.
Yeah, you need to go through like you need there's specific menus for every single thing, and there's no overall menu you can look at that just tells you like every basic thing you need to know about a country.
Yeah, I don't like
There's
that.
only like the diplomacy screen, there's one screen where it shows you the population, the GDP, the living standard, blah 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 blah. Then there's another one which shows you like I think there's their diplomacy, and there's another one. I think it's just relations. No. Let me check.
In fact, actually, I'm gonna be bold here and actually provide some useful feedback. Okay, I'm gonna say
Go on then.
Victoria 3 devs. If
No,
you wanna
sorry, your feedback isn't useful. It's
Oh,
based on the leak.
It's validated. But I'm gonna say it anyway.
It's
if you wanna
completely irrelevant.
if you're gonna have a good UI, remove the current situations thing and take all the info in the current situations, like your ship count, your generals being activated or not, your amount of generals, your brigades. Take all that shit, move it to the top of the screen, like in Vic 2, so you can always click on it and see it. There you go. Already like improved by like 500% if you do that. It's just so much easier because like when I play this league, I had to constantly go into the fucking current events sub-menu and look like how many brigades do I have? Do I have any like input shortages? Like what's the problems, right? If you just put all that shit on the top of the screen like in Vic 2, it's just, and with the icon, it's just so much easier. Right?
Okay. So the other menu I was thinking of is the modifiers menu, which just feels like it's straight out of EU4 because it's like the same thing. It shows you like every single modifier to your country, like every like education access modifier you have or whatever. It shows you everything. So that's the other one I was talking about.
I don't
But
mind
yeah,
that
the main
anymore.
screen shows you GDP, population, literacy, which usually you had to go into ledger, which I guess that's an improvement. You can actually see literacy from like the information tab of a country, not just you have to go in a ledger to see it.
I
But
mean, I don't think that's because that's mostly how it was in Vic 2 as well. Like you can see
well,
your own literacy,
you
but
can see literacy directly in the diplomatic thing. Like you had to go in the ledger.
yeah. That's
I
what I
mean for
mean.
other countries as well. I don't just mean for your own. For your own, it already showed you, just like it does here.
Yeah, and that's fine. I just think they just don't show enough at a glance. I'm fine with the
Yeah.
submenus, but like all the stuff in the submenus like should also be like the most important stuff from the submenu should also be accessible at a glance in the UI, like it was in Vic 2, right? You could also see your brigade camp by going in the
Yes.
diplomacy tab, but or the military tab, but you don't need to do that. You just look at the fucking top bar, and that's all you need, right? You have to
Also,
touch the menu around. They're like,
also, it's weird that they separated all of the buildings into their individual political lens and not just have like a building like lens in general. Instead, there's a production lens, which is just economy stuff, and then there's political lens, which is like your governments, your construction, and your universities, and there's diplomatic lens, which is like weird, which is like special buildings, like basically like the Panama Canal or the Suez or something.
Yeah, I can see why they did that actually. Because if you notice, right, like the way they designed this UI, like the buildings you can build goes from left to right, right. So
Yeah.
if there's too many buildings, you have to just scroll through a ton of shit. That's probably why they
Mhm.
segregate in separate menus. And I
Yeah,
don't mind that
not
too
enough
much.
space.
It's a little confusing, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's a little confusing. So.
I mean, one thing I'm gonna say something positive now. Big shocker, but one thing I do like though is how it represents pops being like in subsistence farming at the start, not all just like in RGOs at like from game start.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
think I
Oh
think
yeah,
that's a good change in my
good.
opinion.
That is a good
Just
thing.
to
And
wrap this up, though, I want one. We got one positive thing from Pogba. I want one positive thing from Zombie, and then I'll go back to just a wee chat with chat, and then I'll end it. So, Zombie, what have you got? What's positive?
I always said this before, but I really like the what's it called, the politics system. Like you actually have to worry about your interest groups and like their strength and so on. It might be a little too influenceable, but and I don't like the chances. Like you have like a certain percent chance to pass a law. I think they should be. I think that should not be a chance and just be like a progression. But aside from that, I really like the politics. Like in Vic 2, politics is not really something you interact with most of the time, except to get reforms. But here, it's a lot more interactable, and you have to worry about your generals being of this, this interest group, yada yada yada. In case if the strength to the interest group, if they have a general of this interest group. So I think the most positive thing I have to say of Vic 3 is definitely the politics system. I think it's a leagues ahead of any other Paradox game in terms of that. I think it's the leagues ahead.
All right, yeah, that's good. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, Pogba and Zombie, very much for your chat. It was interesting.
All right.
Yeah, man. You too. Yeah.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, that's them back. Right, so a little bit more time with just me and you, chat. Some more questions if you have any. That covers pretty much all the Vic3 news, I guess. I suppose there was one last thing I wanted to talk about was the state of the Victoria 3 leak and what people are doing with it. Because there's a lot of stuff about modding and a lot of things people are doing I want to mention. Do you think you still have a chance for a Paradox partnership? I think it's still possible. I think it might actually still be possible. If I really wanted to. I mean, if I started making all the moves and writing all the right emails on the spot right now and sucking up and being nice, I think it's certainly possible, but I'm also not going to do that, so, there you go. Right, so what I want to say is modding. People have been going crazy. People are getting in with the Victoria 3 modding. Someone said it's a good thing that people are getting in on the Victoria 3 modding nice and early, so there's going to be a lot better stuff available when the game comes out. The XCOM-esque political fuckery sounds super fun. Sure, the politics is one example of something that, sure, I'm very open-minded on it being good. Very good. Partnership equals can't criticise them overly. True. I don't even feel like I'm actually overly criticising them anyway at the end of the day. I'm giving them critiques on the war system. I'm being sceptical of things, but I'm also open-minded and can be positive when it's due. I think I have the position of being open-minded and fair to them. I think I'm being fair to Victoria 3 and Paradox, but I could be wrong. I'm sure a lot of Redditors think I'm literally Hitler, and that if, I don't know. Anyway, but you get the games for free. Ah, true. I think we already have Victoria 3 for free though, right now.
This is so tiresome.
If we
This
really
is so
want it.
tiresome.
Feel like Vic3 is going to be an entirely different game a year after release, like Imperator Home.
Skits Oppenhauer, I've said this before, but you got a good name. Thanks for the 5 months, and you're absolutely right. I think that's a very accurate prediction. Well, all you have to do is look at every other Paradox game, and that's been the case. I also have to say that with Imperator, I think Imperator is now, sadly, it's underrated now. It's such a shame what happened to it. It never recovered from the shit launch. It was terrible at launch, but they actually fixed it. They took the feedback and fixed it to a large degree, and it's okay. It's pretty good now, I think. But they've given up on it. They've abandoned it, and they're not doing any more updates or fixes. And they've left the multiplayer with a bunch of dodgy shit servers. There's no in-game text chat for the multiplayer, so there isn't even a chance for it to develop a cult following like a multiplayer community like Vic3 did, which is really fucking sad because that game had potential and it was okay, and they fixed it. Again, that's kind of just fucking depressing from Paradox. How they came out, they hyped up Imperator, came out, absolutely terrible launch, so much criticism, but then they took it and they fixed the damn thing. And then they abandoned it. Just as they were really fucking getting started on fixing it and improving it. So, very sad. And I might even play Imperator again sometime. We had some fun multiplayer with that, with Pie Chucker and the boys. If this wasn't called Victoria 3, then the game would be better than most strategies out there. Yeah. Imperator actually has fans that are genuinely developing the game, Imperator Invictus. Yes, there's a great modding situation for Imperator. And people have tried to do what they can. To what extent can they really fix the game and expand and improve the game when the game's not being developed and improved by the developers? And I mean, what can you do with the modding? What, can you really go far enough? Because I think it seems like a lot of the work that Imperator modders and things have been doing to improve it has been great. Yeah, good for you, Snowlit. So yeah, we've covered about all the news, all the Paradox stuff today. Very interesting chat. Got everything out there. Good to do it. Good to get it all out there. And it's somewhat, to be honest, I enjoy this and find it better and easier than doing a video on it. Even though this stream is like going to be 2 hours long or something, and a video would be like 10 minutes, it takes me longer to do the video. Much longer. It takes me like 12 hours to do the video, and 2 hours to just get all the chatting out here. How will your channel change after the Victoria 3 release? I don't know. I actually don't know, to be honest. It depends. I don't know. I will not stop playing Victoria 2 and doing videos on Victoria 2, but it might have to slow down or take a wee break, at least, Empire at War? Yeah, again, we'll do that sometime. What do you have planned for after the Venice series comes to a close? Well, in case you haven't noticed, the Venice series is going to be my longest series. What do you think? I mean, you can all tell it's going to be my longest series, right? You've all been anticipating that. You can tell, right? Just given the amount of parts there have been so far and the year we're at, you can already compare that to other series. But after the Venice series, guess what? We have more series, more videos. It's all going to continue the same as it was. I'm a bit worried that Vic3 release, even if it's not that good, will reduce interest in Vic2 multiplayer. Ooh, I wouldn't say so. I'm not, what's the word, pessimistic about Victoria 3 negatively affecting Victoria 2. I'm actually optimistic. I think it might help the Victoria 2 multiplayer community. People have compared it to the Hoi 4 killing Hoi 3, and that's true, maybe. But there's a lot of difference between what Hoi 3 was upon Hoi 4's release and what the Victoria 2 multiplayer community is now, I think. I don't want to sound arrogant. I'm just telling you objective fact that Victoria 2 has me. And I don't want to say, you know what I mean. Victoria 2 and the multiplayer thing, it has me to try and help keep it alive, and I'll do what I can for that. And also, yes, a plan. I want to, round about the release of Victoria 3 and everything, or maybe even soon, I want to create a video, just make a video talking about why Victoria is good and why Victoria 2 should still be played. Basically a video titled Why You Should Play Victoria 2, even when Victoria 3 comes out, and talk about that. And Victoria 3 has that Bavarian, a battle of giants. They can do what they want with Victoria 3. I'm going to highlight the beauty of Victoria 2 the whole time. Thanks to the capitalist, but that's not really what I meant by that. My content is what it is, but I was more talking about how I can use my platform and the position and what I am considered in terms of the community to highlight Victoria 2 and keep it alive more than Hoi 3 could have been. Are there or were there any big Hoi 3 multiplayer YouTubers? I don't think so, right? There really wasn't that much going on there when Hoi 4 came out and swept it away. And even now, people probably still play Hoi 3 somewhere, some multiplayer of that. I also want to make a video about the war system and the Victoria 2 and Victoria 3. I basically want to make a video on the topic of, since Victoria 3's war system is going in a different direction, based on the criticism of the Victoria 2 system that a lot of people bring up when praising the Victoria 3 system, I want to make a video on some hypothetical, how could Victoria 2's war system have been improved upon without getting rid of the whole system to make it more accessible and better. Things like army templates and so forth. I want to make a video exploring that. Just to really get in on that, the Victoria 3 war discussion. How they could have really made a proper sequel to Victoria 2 in the war department. To handle the criticism of the micro and everything. Anyway, we're going to wrap up the stream now. If you have any more primes or subs or donations, get them in. So that was a really good stream. We really got everything out there that I wanted to say. And so did Pogba have. Pogba had a good articulate view on the paradox statement. Doesn't mean I necessarily agree with everything either Zombie or him said, but I wanted to let them get their stuff out there. I can't wait for the next podcast. Yeah, we'll do this again whenever there's more Victoria 3 big news or something.
Good grief.
Oh, here we go. Spambot, thank you so much, Spambot. Thank you for the 1,000 bits. Thank you. Thank you. By the way, we're going to be doing a Victoria 2 stream on Sunday with Spambot hosting a World War 1 session. I'm not going to continue the Friday thing I was doing. I'm going to go out on Friday instead. The Ottoman thing. Don't get me wrong, very fun session. Very good game, the zombie game for the Ottomans. We turned the country around. But I'm going to do a stream on Sunday, and I'm not going to take over that Ottomans permanently. Can there be more news than what happened? Look, you never know. There could always be more news. Shout out to Big Weevil. Big Weevil put out a big Victoria 2 video lately. There was someone else who advertised a video on my Discord. Who was it? Oh, I could probably not find that. Let me just see. Someone to give a shout out to. Can I find this? No, I don't think I can. Someone just made a Victoria 2 multiplayer video. His video. Do you know who I'm talking? Are you talking about Weevil's one? Will the Shovel Face series be continued sometime? My big concern and problem with continuing the Shovel Face is it's not necessarily a problem that it was so long ago. The problem is that in the Shovel Face game, I'm learning CK3, and to put out content of me still learning CK3 like 2 years after it came out, you know, it's kind of just really that, you know. Rewatched Muscovy series, glad to hear it. Turning Redditors into regulars, yeah. If only every Redditor can go through what those Redditors went through, they wouldn't be calling me Hitler. They would have a bit of sense. Oh. The video I'm talking about was by Gamago2. Let me just link this. There, I linked that. Go watch that after the stream. I'm going to wrap up the stream. Sure, I haven't actually watched it myself, but I've seen people say it's really good. So a Victoria 2 multiplayer video by someone. There you go. Go watch that after this. Sorry if you're asking questions now. I'm going to go. Thanks, guys. By the way, they've been fucking muting my ending music, even though it's by Kevin MacLeod on Twitch. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. All the support, Spambot there, thank you. All the donations, very, very much appreciated. You don't know how much it's appreciated, guys. Thank you. We will be back on Friday. I doubt there's going to be a Call of Duty Zombie stream tomorrow, just because I don't have the time. I need to edit this video. The video is turning out longer than I thought and more complicated, so I'll be editing that. Thank you, everyone. Have a very good day. Goodbye.